Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
I once went to Cornwall. I left my hoodie at home, we got lost, it rained, everything was shut, and we ended up eating sandwiches under an umbrella next to the beach. On the way home, the car broke down. On this week's podcast, someone else has a bad time in Cornwall. This is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast where we're on an adventure to watch a century of cinema, decade by decade, year by year. I'm one half of your hosts, Liam Delaney, and
I'm Oliver Jones.
Very good. Not laughing at my story. You're allowed to laugh out loud.
I did laugh.
You know,
I'll crank it up.
You're allowed to tell people you think I'm funny, not just a weirdo that you do a podcast with.
Do you want me to put lol over it as you?
No, I do not.
I'll put a laugh track, like
a
sitcom.
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
And
if
then
we can have like a sitcom.
Some Seinfeld.
Yeah. Oh, just like Frasier. That's what I've always wanted to be in life. Is actually just to be Frasier. Probably.
I think you should sing an outro song. I think.
Oh yes. I don't know what to do with toaster salad and scrambled eggs.
The next podcast is Fist of Fury.
Tune in next week. Week. Okay, what are we doing? How are you, Ollie?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm really good actually. I've got some things to talk about. Actually, one thing we should probably first talking about. Should I bring the mood down?
Oh, I think I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, Ian Holm died today, just before we started recording, actually.
Yeah, so it's going to be about, a week and a half late when people hear us talking about it.
It's next week, yeah. So.
But yeah, really sad. I've always enjoyed Ian Holm's performances.
Yeah, he's for England anyway, he's an absolute icon, stage and screen. And for me, he's done so many roles that I remember him for. Like, not even putting aside kind of, the Oscar winning, or not Oscar nominated for Chariots of Fire. But like Alien, who, talking of 70s films, Alien, he's absolutely...
Lord of the Rings,
Bilbo, and then stuff like, Madness of King George, or Fifth Element, or Brazil. Like,
yeah. Time Bandits, he's great in Time Bandits.
He's so amazing in that. And then, Bilbo, he just absolutely nails Lord of the Rings, and it's hard to imagine anyone else really is playing Bilbo. I know Martin did it, but like he just got that so spot on. And it's really sad.
But, he's in Naked Lunch. Wasn't he the dad in Garden State as well?
Oh, he is in Garden State as well. I love him in a film, and I know I can hear Brandon in the back of my head telling me this film's crap, but
he'll tell you every film's crap.
You're going to throw him over the bus again.
Yeah, always under the bus. What film's that?
Big Night, the Stanley Tucci directed movie. Touch of the Tooch.
I've not seen that one.
I absolutely love that film. Stanley Tucci makes an omelette in it, and it's the best scene I've ever watched in film. Ian Holm plays like the kind of villain, if you can call it that, in that. He has quite an outrageous Italian accent in it, which might be a bit of a stretch, but I love him in it, and I love that film. So I always.
Well, if I remember, I think he was pretty ill when they were doing the Hobbit films, because he didn't go to New Zealand to film his parts. I think they had to construct a whole set in the UK to film his segments of Bilbo for the beginning of that.
Oh, I didn't know that at all. I know that because he died with complications to do with Parkinson's, so he probably was suffering for quite a long time. But I know one of the last things he did before Hobbit was the Ratatouille as well, and I love him in Ratatouille. He's great.
Yeah, great
in
that, so. Ratatouille is very good.
Yeah, it's probably my favourite Pixar actually. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it is my favourite Pixar.
Well, that had quite a troubled production, didn't it? I think it had a different director until Brad Bird took it over.
Comes on and nails it, makes it the best film ever made. Well, it's not the best film ever made, but I absolutely love that film.
I was watching a video, like Honest Trailers or whatever, those kind of where they just pick apart a film and they like picked apart Incredibles 2, basically saying it's exactly the same film as the first one. I was like, I kind of agree with it, but at the same time, it's really good. So I had
no problems with Incredibles 2. Sometimes you just really like sitting and watching something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and I just.
And it was it was well done. I mean, yes, okay, it was very similar in themes and stuff, but you know, what superhero films aren't very similar to the previous films? Do you know what I mean? They're, you know, it's full of tropes and stuff like that, and it just follows the normal tropes of a superhero film, pretty much.
Yeah, but what I did like about it was female led, which that makes it like the second superhero film ever that's female led, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think there's not many of them at all, so you can give it that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Talking of not female led at all, did you watch any films this week? Because I watched something. I've watched a few, so I'll mention two quickly. Okay. So I rewatched The Lost Boys on the head of talking about Batman and Robin and Batman Forever the other week. The Schumachers.
And I enjoy the hell out of that film. It's just a good time watching that film.
The saxophone guy is iconic.
Yeah, he's all oiled up and stuff like that. Yeah. Like just a random gig on the beach.
Of course. Just get the saxophone out on the beach. But
there's definite the look of the Lost Boys in that, how they dress and that. You can see that in the gangs in the Batman films and stuff like that. Just doesn't have as much neon.
Yeah, I'd agree. I can imagine the Lost Boys being in neon. I can imagine him doing that to that film.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised they haven't made a Lost Boys TV show or whatever now, because it seems ripe for that kind of,
wasn't there? Am I going mad that they did some sort of adaptation?
You know those Warner Brothers TV shows. They've got a channel, isn't there? A Warner Brothers TV channel that kind of does all the superhero shows and stuff.
Oh,
WB or something.
Sure, yeah.
It'd be ripe for that, a supernatural kind of thing, but the Lost Boys, where it's
I guess that's just actually. I guess vampire TV shows aren't that popular anymore. I mean,
there was one called The Vampire Diaries. Wasn't
there was,
or something like that. And there was True Blood. Was that vampires?
True Blood's the one I was trying to think of. That's what I was pausing to try and think of.
Sexy vampires
and
in
the south,
and stuff. But, was it werewolves in that, or was it just vampires? I don't know.
I think there was I think there was pixies in it and nymphs. I think I remember that being it. I think it was lots.
There's a Teen Wolf TV series that's apparently nothing.
I was about to mention Teen Wolf because you mentioned Lost Boys. I was thinking of Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf is very different to Lost Boys, though.
Yeah, I'm sure the TV show is very different to the actual movie.
Oh yeah, I think the TV show is more of a drama, kind of horror drama.
Yeah,
as
it's a young adult drama.
The wacky comedy where everybody embraces Michael J. Fox as a werewolf.
Yeah, and being a werewolf helps you play basketball because it has
in the daytime.
It has all the things you need to play basketball with as a wolf. It makes
but not at the end, isn't it? What's the song at the end? Gonna win at the end.
I do win at the end.
And he's the smallest basketball player ever.
Yeah. Oh, good song, good movie song that is.
It is. It's like the end of the Karate Kid song. The song at the end of the Karate Kid had a good one as well.
I like the bit in Teen Wolf where his dad reveals that he's a Teen Wolf.
That is the best moment ever.
And I like the fact that he reveals that he's a Teen Wolf. We're a family of Teen Wolves. That's the condition.
You know the sequel. It's not Michael J. Fox, but it's Jason Bateman.
Is it Jason Bateman? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think how Eugene Levy pops up in those straight to DVD films of American Pie.
Yeah.
I think the dad appears in the sequel as kind of the werewolf mentor.
Amazing.
I think he's his uncle or something.
Amazing. Why haven't I seen Teen Wolf 2?
We'll watch it. We'll do it for 86 or whatever.
We'll do it for every year of the 80s.
I'm trying to think what else I watched. I watched a film called, I think it's Moving Parts, and it's a documentary about Trixie Mattel, who was on
from Drag Race.
Yeah, series 3 of Drag Race. It was alright. And Caroline's...
That was Ollie's review. It was alright. Next.
I mean, Caroline's a massive fan of
I like Trixie.
Drag
She's
Race.
Really talented.
Yeah, she won the 3rd series of All Stars as well, I think.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say she won All Stars, not the actual one.
But this documentary felt like quite I wouldn't say forced documentary, but it seemed like
a bit clawing, maybe a bit fanish. I don't know.
Yeah, it was made just because of her I mean,
base.
that's the same with any documentary, but I don't know if it was made by the production company that did Drag Race, but Drag Race is featured a lot in it. She goes to a lot of like viewing parties and stuff like that. It's all about her relationship with another drag act from the show, and I've forgotten her name. They did like a web series called
Yes, they did, like and I can't remember her name either.
And then she had like a breakdown, kind of, or went to rehab and stuff like that. So that was fairly interesting stuff. But yeah, it was okay. Worth a watch. It's on Netflix.
Oh, well, if it's on Netflix, it's worth a watch. I haven't watched the new Netflix film, actually, the Five Bloods. That's what I wanted to watch this week, and I haven't got around to it because
I started to, but fell asleep. That's not a slight on the film. I was just really tired.
It's kind of a African American war film, isn't it? So
yeah, I think so.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So interesting as we just watched Dead Presidents. I wonder. It's a maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll try and watch it for next week, maybe, and we'll talk about it.
But I watched The King of Carrot Flowers. All week I've been going to myself, when you were young, you were the king of Staten Island. to myself, to a joke to no one else, just to me. I've been enjoying myself for like a week singing that.
If no one knows what Liam's on about, there's a band he's a solo artist, I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff Mangan.
And it's Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
Only released one album and an EP. Fantastic though.
There's a live album as well. It's worth.
Is there a live album? You don't count live albums.
Yeah, iconic band, and that song's amazing.
Yeah, so check it out. King of Carrot Flowers,
Part 1. But there's Part 2 as well, and Part 3 actually as well.
What was the Two-Headed Boy? Isn't there a few parts of that as well?
Yeah, there's Two-Headed Boy Part 2 at the end of the album as well.
That's it. Yeah.
I like that bit when they brings it back into the Two-Headed Boy thing at the end of that song. It always lifts me up when he goes back into it. Is this an album? Is this a podcast about Neutral Milk Hotel?
When you messaged me about that joke, for some reason I couldn't think of the tune for Carrot Flowers, and I was thinking of all the other songs trying to fit that lyric into the other songs.
You were the king of Staten Island, and then you went and worked with Bill Burr, and you were a fireman, and everything was great. And Marissa Tomei was there. I loved it. I didn't think I would, and I absolutely loved it. And I know it's too long, and I know it drags a little bit, and I know it's kind of baggy because it's Judd Apatow, but I loved it. I absolutely just sat there and enjoyed every second of it. I felt like
I really enjoyed it as well. Last week I mentioned a few reviews that were a bit scathing towards it.
Yeah, I've read them as well, and I don't disagree, but I loved it.
Well, I do in some respects. Like I didn't get bored with it.
No, I didn't.
As long as it was, and I think the film's a little bit aimless, but so's the main character, and you kind of just
loved that. It felt so. It felt a little bit. Sorry, go on.
Because he's got ADD in it. The film kind of jumps around from bit to bit, and I quite like that. Like, it takes a while as well for him to get to the point where he goes to the firehouse as well.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, is he going to become a fireman now? But he doesn't really.
That's what I was going to say. I loved about it that the resolution of it wasn't like massive. It wasn't that he solved his dead dad issues. It wasn't that he became a fireman and saved someone with a fire or anything like that. It was just this little kind of story about someone like getting to somewhere in their life, just a little bit better. It felt so human to me, and I really liked that about it. It didn't feel just overblown or anything. I mean, there's certain elements, of course it was, but it just felt really good and natural to me. I felt really realistic in that way. And
yeah, I'm a big fan. I like 40-Year-Old Virgin. I like Knocked Up. Knocked Up.
I'm not a massive Judd Apatow fan.
Well, there's a lot of similarities with all of his films. Like a lot of them feature especially with Knocked Up. They're kind of, he's a slacker with no money. He smokes pot all the time.
Sure.
He's got a wacky idea about what he's going to do with his life. Like in Knocked Up, he's going to do a Mr. Skin style website. In this, he wants to open up a tattoo parlor that serves food. Yeah. Which I don't think's a real idea. It's just something he blurted out once, and it just kind of.
Well, being a tattooist is fine as well.
I love the fact he tattoos people on the beach, in the woods, like in the least sanitary areas ever.
The scene with him tattooing the kid was making me laugh so fucking much.
Oh, it's so funny.
I loved Pete Davidson in this. I don't know him at all. I don't know SNL. I don't know that kind of stuff, like, because it's not shown over here. So I just had no kind of expectations of him going in. But
Don't you
love
find that weird that SNL never... I mean, I know we got our own SNL, which Harry Enfield became famous for and stuff like that.
Sounds awful.
But we never got the American one, which you thought we would have done.
I don't know why they have never done a deal. I always think about that about a lot of the chat shows as well. Like, I know, like, I used to watch kind of Letterman and Conan on like cable. I can't remember what channel it was on. Maybe like NBC, I think. They were good, but they were shown at like 2:00 in the morning, like 2 days or a week after or something. I don't know, like the originals.
Right,
and I don't know why a TV show has never gone, these are really popular, let's just buy it. Because
for some reason, like the Oprahs get over here, the
the daytime ones,
those kind of ones come over here. But
Sally, Jesse, Raphael.
But yeah, I thought the cast was great. Like, a lot of people
Tomei is always great. So
a lot of people dislike Pete Davidson, but I've never seen him in anything, so I can't say anything. But I thought he was very good in this. But
I loved him.
I guess he was playing himself.
Yeah.
Essentially. So
did it have a little bit to you of a bit of like a Harmony Korine vibe to it?
Just in the fact that it was a bit easy breezy. It wasn't like Harmony Korine. Like, I'd say 30% of his films are scripted or structured, and the rest of it is just kind of is just kind of do what you want. And they're a bit dirtier and a lot dirtier and scrappier and a bit more messed up. But
sure, I thought like the kind of Staten Island stuff was a little bit kind of in that vibe. Like, someone who might like Harmony Korine stuff might appreciate that this is a bit kind of scumbummy and a bit kind of like that. And
yeah, well, that's what they try and show what the people of Staten Island are like. A bit kind of chavvy in an American kind of sense, I guess. A bit like the people in Jersey Shore, a bit Guido-ish, but not like that, but their own kind of.
But they're not, they're not New Yorkers in that way. When you think like, and I liked that effect of it. And Steve Buscemi was just amazing. Like, Steve Buscemi was like, well, he's always amazing, but he like. I loved him in this kind of nurturing role he had. I love that baseball scene when he's like, Steve Buscemi makes a joke and Pete Davidson's like, why don't you be more like him? He's good. I like him. He's funny.
Well, I mean, he was actually a fireman, wasn't he? And I think in 9/11 he kind of helped out, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the famous Reddit joke that every month someone will post that as like, did you know that Steve Buscemi was there? Like, everyone knows now. Everyone.
But I think Pete Davidson's dad died in 9/11, didn't he? I think.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a fireman and died in 9/11. So
that's amazing. So I knew it was slightly well, not amazing. That sounds like, I just mean...
Yeah.
I know that it was slightly autobiographical for him, so I didn't realise.
But you were saying Melissa Tomei, she was great. She had a bit of a mullet thing going on.
I think it's just a Staten Island do.
Yeah.
I love Melissa Tomei, and so she was always amazing. Do you know when she filmed The Wrestler, her and Mickey Rourke didn't get on? Like, she absolutely hated him. And,
I'm not surprised, to be honest.
I almost called him Mickey Rooney, I always do. And,
I'd love to see Mickey Rooney in The Wrestler. Oh my god.
But they wouldn't shoot scenes together, so like he would just walk off from her like close-ups and stuff. So whenever she's in that film, she's reacting to just like the director or stand-in or anything else like that. Mickey Rooney was never on set with her.
Mickey Rooney.
I'm the wrestler, don't you know? But and then like I think there's a love scene or something like that, and that's the only thing they shot together or something properly. Like they just would split up immediately, and she just absolutely hated him. And apparently he was an asshole to work with, which is not surprising.
Well, apparently he's an asshole on every film. Like when they made Iron Man 2, I think he went off to Russia to kind of learn how to be a Russian, and it's like, you don't need to.
He got the detailed role as Whiplash.
He got like metal caps put on his teeth and stuff like that. And it's like, no, there's a thing called makeup,
That is I hate Iron Man 2 as well, and it's just so pointless with him in it. It's dull.
It's a shame because they had a good cast in that, like Sam Rockwell, who I think is always good in everything. He's even good in Iron Man 2, but
yeah,
it's just a shame he was in that one.
He's crafting his career of playing racist with a heart of gold, though, at the moment.
Did you know the racist with a heart of gold? the girl who plays his kind of on-off girlfriend in this, she's British, which I thought her American accent was fantastic.
Oh, I never would have picked up on that at all.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And Bill Burr, I thought was great in this as well. Bill Burr, I know from his stand-up, but I think he was in Breaking Bad. Really, that was about it. But
Was he in
that I
Breaking?
know him from.
I thought from the trailers it was.
Was he in Breaking Bad? Did I make that up?
It was what's his name from the Goonies. He was one of the Fratellis in the Goonies, and he was in
Bill
Memento.
Burr was.
I thought you know Memento. The guy who plays Teddy.
Oh,
You know,
Pantaloons.
I
Pair of
thought
pants. Joey Pants.
from the trailer. I thought it was Joey Pants.
Joey Pants could have been in this. That would have been great. That would have elevated it. People would have stopped moaning then if Joey Pants was in this. I love him. What is he doing nowadays? Why isn't he in every film?
Let's see what Joey Pants is doing.
I always think
Joey Pants.
Did it come up? Did you just Google Joey Pants?
Yeah. Well, he's 68 now. So,
Joey Pantalino, or whatever his name is.
What was he last in? Oh, he was in Bad Boys for Life.
Oh, was he?
Well, he was the captain in the first two films. So.
Oh, I forgot about that. Might need
what
to watch
else
Bad
has
Boys
he
for
been
Life now then. He
to
should be in the new Matrix.
He was in Cats and Dogs: The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Oh, good.
That was 10 years ago.
Well, we'll all check that out.
He was in Sense8.
Oh, I didn't watch Sense8.
But yeah, it looks like he's slowed down in the last few years. But anyway. But yeah, King of Staten Island, I give it 4 out of 5. Good film.
Easily. Yeah, I'm really kind of baffled why it's getting hate, actually.
I tell you who I liked in it. There's a guy, I don't know his real name, but his stage name is Machine Gun Kelly.
Is this Action Bronson by any chance? 'Cause
Action Bronson?
he's the guy at the end who is really high and won't say if he's got shot or stabbed.
No, not him. He's Machine Gun Kelly's. He plays his best friend who, I think he gets shot in the raid at the pharmacy.
Oh yeah,
Spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the film.
Yeah, we've just spoiled everything in this film.
Not really. We haven't really. But yeah, I thought he was really good in the film. He plays Tommy Lee in the Dirt film. You know the.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked his group of friends and the little guy as well, who just kind of seems to hate hanging out with them, but he just does anyway because he's got nothing else to do.
And he telling him about his hot girlfriend. They won't believe him.
Yeah, and it turns out, I won't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. But yeah, I surprised myself. I don't consider myself much of a Judd Apatow fan. I like funny people. I think I like 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I haven't watched it since the cinema, probably. It's
a more cinema film. Like at the end, they all break out into song and stuff like that. Whereas in this, it's more. I'd say it's more of a drama than a comedy, maybe, because the humor's not like joke. Sometimes they have jokes in it where it's just like in real life where you'll say a joke just because you've got nothing else to say, and it'll be shit, and people just ignore it. And I thought, do you know what I mean? That kind of realistic,
really
kind
naturalistic vibe. Yeah, really was. It made me laugh a lot, though. Saying it's not a comedy, it did make me laugh a lot. I
definitely made me laugh. I can't remember any of the jokes off the top of my head though, because
I remember when the guy's getting tattooed and he comes in. And he just keeps insulting him about the guy's tattoos.
Oh, because he's got the
Confederate flag.
Confederate flag and
yeah. But also, like, I really liked him reacting with the kids as well. I thought it was really sweet, and again, I liked how like it wasn't this grand change to his life. It was just this slow understanding that he can take responsibility and he can like that and he can feel good about that. Really, and I just thought that was just nice telling that smaller story.
Well, he was in another film that came out a few years ago that I want to watch, and I think it's called Big Time Adolescence. And he played. I think it came out last year, and he plays someone who's about 20, 23, but he's got a friend who's 16, and there's like obviously quite an age gap between them, and how he's like a bad influence on.
I might check it out actually. Now I've learned who Pete Davidson is anyway.
Yeah. I mean, some of his tattoos are a bit shit. I shouldn't judge, but they are pretty bad.
I like the whole aesthetic he's going for. It's that kind of crumb bum aesthetic from Staten Island. It's good.
Well, he just comes across as a guy that just doesn't give a fuck, and not in a horrible way. He comes across as a fairly decent person.
I know what you mean.
But he's just a bit carefree, and he's just like fuck it. Like at the beginning of the film, like he's driving down the road. I actually thought that's quite powerful, actually. and he closes his eyes as he's driving down the motorway.
Oh, yeah.
And he just keeps going for as long as he can without opening his eyes, and then. But yeah, good film. You watched anything else?
God, I'm not even sure I have. I was going to watch a 1971 film because I realised it came out in 1971, but I didn't get around to watching it. So I don't think I've watched anything else really. I watched, because it's they've started doing Nora Ephron on blank check, so I've started watching Nora Ephron films.
Okay.
And last weekend I watched 2 of them in a row because I watched her first directed film, which is It's My Life, I think it's called. A film that like really doesn't exist.
It's my life, it's my life, my world, it's my life.
Oh, we're singing 2 different songs.
Which one are you singing?
It's my life. That Bon Jovi one. Wow, 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 wow. Doesn't it do that?
Yes, I forgot about that one. Is that when they're playing in the
playing in the subway
in the underpass? Yeah.
And everyone gets like an alert on their phone that Bon Jovi's playing, and they all have to run to go watch
Their
the Bon
Nokia
Jovi.
3210s all light up.
Yeah. Quick, Bon Jovi in the underpass.
Do you remember when we went to see Bon Jovi? And he
do.
played like all the hits up front, and he played for 3 hours. So like for a good 2.5 hours, me and you were like going,
So bored.
what are these songs?
I was so bored. I was getting increasingly more drunk because I was so bored. And then he finished. His encore was like 3 covers. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was like Lulu Shout, fucking Stasis Crow rocking all over the world or something, and another one I can't. It was so
like,
shit.
At least hold on to some of your bangers till the end to keep us engaged till the very end.
And he didn't because he didn't play any just John Bon Jovi songs. I'm not the biggest Bon Jovi fan. Like he only played the band songs, didn't he? He didn't play any of his own ones.
Well, his own songs were a bit more ballady. They may have played.
Put it in there.
They may have played some of his Young Guns stuff.
Mm.
But
maybe,
I tell you what, I can go on Setlist FM and find it out if you want.
I don't know. Okay, actually, go for it. This will be exciting.
I'm looking for it now.
If you can find out if I'm right about those encores, I'm very happy about my brain. We got there for free. I just remember.
Did we go for free?
Yeah. We got free tickets off someone.
I think Tim just bought about 20 tickets and was like, "Here you go."
Yeah, I think so. So I shouldn't complain about the free gig of crap music. But yeah, it's My Life, Nora Ephron film starring Julie Kavanaugh, who you know who that is, don't you?
Simpsons. No.
Yeah, Marge. Like the only film I've seen, only film she's like lead in as Julie Kavanaugh, and this film barely exists. It's quite easy to find. It's on Prime, but it's really good. It's really, really good. Like it's really watchable, really funny. And it shocked me. I was like, this film that no one's ever mentioned. I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. I shouldn't be. It's Nora Ephron. She knows what the hell she's doing. But I really, really recommend it. And it surprised me how much I just enjoyed that film. But because I enjoyed it so much, I decided to open some Prosecco, and then I watched Sleepless in Seattle afterwards. So last weekend I had a bit of a Nora Ephron run.
Sleepless in Seattle is a good film.
Sleepless is amazing. It is. It's a perfect film. You got that set list yet?
Oh, mate, you should see how many gigs they've played. They've played so many shows. I can't remember what year it was. I'm on page 50 and I'm up to 2009.
Can't you just type in Wolverhampton or something?
Wolverhampton. I probably could actually.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm assuming you can cut this out or it's going to be boring.
Yeah, I'll cut it out. Oh, here we go. June 24th, 2003. That would be the one.
So June.
Do you want to hear this?
Yeah, okay. I'll see how many you actually know the songs of.
Alright, first song was Bounce.
No.
Second was You Give Love a Bad Name.
Oh yeah. Is that Shot Through?
Runaway.
Yep.
Every Day. Living on a Prayer.
Yep.
Undivided. Keep the Faith. Wanted Dead or Alive. I think that's.
I know that one.
It's Solo from.
Oh, is it? I'm talking.
I think that's the one from.
Wanted. That one.
Yeah. Down. Anyway, The Distance.
Nope.
It's My Life.
Oh yeah, the title track to the movie.
Misunderstood.
Nope.
Someday It'll Be Saturday Night.
What?
Just Older.
What?
I'll Be There for You. In
What?
These Arms.
What?
Born to Me Baby.
What?
I'll Sleep When I'm Dead with Rockin' All Over the World.
There we go. I knew you played it.
Raise Your Hands.
No.
The encore then was I Got the Girl.
What?
Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from Mars, and then Bad Medicine with Shout.
Yes, I remember Shout.
So I can't believe you remember those.
Well, I remember he played some songs I knew, and then, as just demonstrated, a whole bunch of shit no one's ever heard of, and Shout. Like,
so he made 21 songs last about 3 hours. This is the thing with these bands; they like noodle for so much in between songs and draw shit out.
It was so boring, and we were outside as well because it was the bloody stadium.
Yeah, when was it?
Gig.
June 24th. So it's almost 17 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Look at that. Nuts. We're old.
We're old. We were young then.
We were young and didn't know anything about John Bon Jovi.
So anyway, on this week's Bon Jovi cast, what are we talking about?
So anyway, in our little kind of adventure, we're up to 1971, and we're going to talk about Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs. But first, just 71 in general, it's actually kind of a absolute killer movie for year. Year for movies. Any thoughts at the top of your head?
Well, as I said to you before we started, one of my very favorite. It's in my top 5 maybe of all-time favorite films, and that's The French Connection. Is an incredible film. It's so good. So like influenced so many films as well.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier as well, I own the first one and the second one on DVD and Blu-ray, but I've still yet to see the sequel.
I've never seen the sequel at all. I'd never even thought about putting it on. I was just the first film is an absolute bona fide classic. It's wonderful. It won every award this year. Best Picture, Director, and screenplay.
You got Gene Hackman as Popeye Doyle, and you've got Roy Schneider in it as well. Roy
Schneider, yeah, yep.
I'm not sure if he was in the sequel, but
who actually, because Gene Hackman's obviously the lead, but who it has a killer 70s. This is the cool thing about the 1970s. You get people like Roy Schneider and Gene Hackman and kind of Jack Nicholson as well, but I don't know if we'd actually do a Jack Nicholson film.
Well, and Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman, that's what I mean.
Their
you got
70s
these guys,
were just incredible.
Yeah, because I don't think of them as the actors they are in the 70s, because they obviously then kind of do different roles. I think of Dustin Hoffman, we'll get to him, as a comedic actor, really.
Well, I guess Robert De Niro as well and Al Pacino, they were like built in the 70s, weren't they?
So it's so much joy watching
still to this day, those are their iconic roles, are still from the 70s.
Absolutely. It's the roles people imitate, and it's the role people think of when they think of them. But I think of Gene Hackman the same way. The Conversation comes out in 1974, and he's wonderful in the Conversation, and he's wonderful in this as well. And it's just really cool, actually. These older actors, and
I feel bad for these actors though, who are still alive now and they're still working. So I think obviously Gene Hackman is retired, and Jack Nicholson has pretty much retired. I think he keeps threatening to come back now and again.
I think he needs to do one more role, and he was threatened for. Well, he was threatening he was going to do the
remake of that French film or whatever.
German film, yeah. I just got the names out of my head.
Sorry.
Yeah,
which he plays the dad's character of something like the. Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to see him do one more because his last film is god awful. Right?
Something's Got to Give. No. It's bloody.
I'm gonna have to look it up because I won't remember that. It's got a dumb title that he did.
But I feel bad for some of these actors because they're still held on a pedestal for these films, and they're kind of ridiculed in some of their they're older people, and they don't have the kind of. It might be harsh to say, but they don't have the drive they probably had in the 70s and the hunger they had to kind of be the best actor they possibly could. Now they're just kind of enjoying themselves and just kind of
just working.
So they kind of get people rag on them, going, "Why is they not as good as they were in the 70s?" I'm like, because it's not the 70s anymore, and they're in their 70s and 80s now.
But I think it's one of the great things about Jack Nicholson. Even though, how do you know was his last one in the 2010? That film's atrocious, but he's like 2000s. He nails it as an older man. Like About Schmidt, I love.
Yeah.
The Departed, he's great in The Departed.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
And there's other films in there, Anger Management. Something's got to give. I think he's great in it. Then The Bucket List is a part of shit, but but like at least he definitely could show that even well up to his retirement, he was still knocking them out of the park. And I think I think Al Pacino, Robert De Niro are the same. They're allowed to do stupid comedies. It doesn't matter. But when they want to take a role, they'll still do it. And, you know, The Irishman last year proved that, really.
Well, proves they still got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're talking, like, The French Connection makes me think that, you know, William Friedkin, obviously the director. We'll be covering him later in this miniseries as well, actually, with Roy Schneider.
He had an amazing career in the 70s and then the early and the 80s as well. I mean, to be honest, he's done some great stuff like throughout the years. But
The Exorcist alone, which is, you know, he does French Connection, The Exorcist, and then Sorcerer in the 70s. That is just an absolute incredible run of 3 films.
Did he do Cruising as well?
Yeah, he did Cruising in 1980. Yeah, and then To Live and Die in LA, and you know his 90s went a bit odd, but. But like Bug, Killer Joe.
I think a lot of the 70s directors found the 90s quite... Like John Carpenter as well had like a real iffy 90s. I think some of them like... I think... who did the first Mission Impossible? What's his name? But De Palma. He kind of had a decent 90s because he did The Untouchables. And I really like the first Mission Impossible. I think it's quite good.
Me too. It's wonderful.
But yeah, it's 71. What other films do you like from that year?
Well, I can bash through a few without talking about it too heavily, but there's films that people will know, like absolute cultural icons, or cultural moments, I should say, like, you know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is 2001.
Yeah.
I mean, 2001, 1971. You know, Dirty Harry is the same year. Clockwork Orange. I mean, like that film is absolutely iconic. It's related a lot to Straw Dogs, I think, as well, in its depiction of violence and stuff, but. And Stanley Kubrick is amazing, and we'll get back to him as well, like later in the miniseries. You've got Diamonds Are Forever, the last Sean Connery film, came out this year.
Well, unless you count the one that he did that's not with Eon Productions.
No, he did that. He did that before Diamonds Are Forever.
No, wasn't that like in the 80s?
Never Say Never Again. Yeah, 83. You're right.
Yeah,
with a very weird kind of. Story about that.
Well, it's basically a remake of Thunderball, isn't it? And I think it was released the same time as Octopussy, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's not totally a remake. It's weird. It's basically the rights to Thunderball don't belong to just the estate, so they split off to two people. So the rights to Thunderball, the guy who co-wrote it was allowed to then write it again and release it. So like it was a weird rights issue that meant that this James Bond character just didn't belong to the studios at the same time. I've never seen it.
Well, I've said to you, like, I've seen every Bond from Timothy Dalton till now, but I think my Sean Connery and Roger Moore is severely lacking. So I've got this box set that's just been sitting on my shelf for years. So my goal is to at least try and do one a week. That's my goal. Okay. So hopefully next week I might at least. I'll do like my Bond minute or something like that.
Sure, yeah. Update us on your Bond adventure. Cool. I'm not the biggest Bond fan. I do like the Connery ones. I think they're really weird films, especially because it's the 60s. The stuff they glamorize I find really cool. Like they glamorize like checking into hotels and stuff, and they'll spend time showing you what a hotel room looks like or a bar looks like.
Yeah.
They're all like almost like travel log films.
And, like a magazine, like a visual magazine kind
and
of.
I really like that aesthetic about them. The 70s Bond, I don't really care for Roger Moore at all, really. I don't care. But
is this when he became a ninja and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just a bit meh. But yeah. Other films this year? Because I can keep going. This is crazy. You get like
you've got The Last Picture Show, Shaft.
Yeah, totally.
The Andromeda Strain.
You get THX 1138. Comes out this year.
Oh yeah, his first feature film.
Yeah, so building up to Star Wars. You get like you get Bedknobs and Broomsticks this year, which I think all of us watched 100 times when young. You get Steven Spielberg's first movie, Duel, in this year. So you've got George Lucas and Spielberg get their first feature-length films in the same year, and all building up to these become these classic kind of films in Hollywood. Really, you even get the Dad's Army film this year, so you know.
Do they go on holiday in that? Whenever they do a sitcom, like a film, they always go on holiday.
All I remember about the Dad's Army film is they get in a tank and they drive over some tents. It's the only thing I remember. That was what they spent all their money on.
Do you know what film that came out this year that I've never seen, but a lot of films reference it, and it's Harold and Maude. I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I have never seen Harold and Maude, actually. Oh well, we didn't do it.
Two-lane Bricktop as well. Lots of shit. Get Carter. Man, it's a very influential year, wasn't it?
It is. It's one of those just crazy years in film that like just dominate and these things stick around forever, basically. Even talking about The Last Picture Show, which is a wonderful film as well. Anyway, this week we're not talking about any of those films because we've seen them all, but we are talking about Straw Dogs.
Okay, you've had your fun. I'll give you one more chance. And if you don't clear out now, there'll be real trouble. I mean it.
This is David Sumner. All his life he's been running away, turning his back on trouble, involvement, and confrontation. Until now.
There are 5 men out there.
I know that.
He took his wife and fled to an English country town.
There was once a time, Mrs. Sumner, when you were ready to beg me for it.
Take your hands off me.
What you doing? You're an animal. He thought he could find peace and refuge. Instead, he found that a man can't hide forever.
I care. This is where I live. I will not allow violence against this house.
Sam Peckinpah, who uncaged the Wild Bunch, now unleashes Dustin Hoffman in Straw Dog.
Right, so Straw Dogs, to give a quick kind of, a quick plot description, is Dusty Hoffman.
Dusty H.
Dusty H.
He sounds like a wrestler.
He is. Dusty Hoff. He's a academic who is living in Cornwall with his wife. And all the local men are very scary people. And and one thing leads to another, and the film ends in a massive home invasion. That's kind of the plot summary. Without going to points. So yeah. It's I said iconic a lot already today, but it's definitely a film that has kind of permeated kind of through culture. The poster itself is something that I could think of without ever seeing the film before.
Which poster are you thinking of? The one with his broken glasses, or the one where he's holding out the shotgun?
Yeah, the one with the broken glasses. But even that image of Dustin Hoffman with the shotgun, and even the line reading then, well, just before then, like, what is it? I won't let violence in this house or something, or pertain to this house. Yeah, that's it's hard to think of Dustin Hoffman and not think of him delivering that line, really. Even if I never saw the film, I just know that that's an Oscar role kind of moment. That's like that's a Jack Nicholson, sorry, not Jack, that's a Robert De Niro standing in front of the mirror, like, you talking to me kind of moment for Dustin Hoffman, really. Well,
he's brilliant then, because then 15 minutes later he's murdered everyone.
Yeah. Fucking ass. Spoilers. It's I knew it as a kind of shock film. I knew that it was controversial. And I knew that it got banned in the UK. That's really what I knew about it more than anything else. Yeah. And I know we were just looking this up before we started, but it didn't get a home video release until 2002 in the UK. Well, uncut.
I don't know if that was just for it was probably a cut version on VHS or something, but an uncut version. Which
is kind of insane, really, for a 70s film.
Yeah.
To take that long to come out. But it has a lot of quite controversial moments in it, we'll get to. But, I mean, what do you think? Before we bash down the kind of the plot points.
I really liked it. I definitely liked it. But it's a product of its time, very much so, like the treatment of women in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's at the heart of the film, though. I think I don't know if the film's trying to make you think about that, or if it's just those are the views of some of the filmmakers, and I couldn't really quite decide.
Yeah, I think maybe as we go through, like, I have some thoughts about it. But for me, it was hard to divorce the writing and the treatment of women in this from the filmmaker, and it felt like the same thing. It didn't it didn't really feel like there was a lot of commentary on it. It just felt like a bit of a misogynistic film.
Yeah, no. I mean, in terms of what I liked, I thought it was visually, it was well shot. It looked
wonderful.
great, and do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah. And the last bit of the film is genuinely thrilling, and even the build up. All the build up is kind of tension ranking, and you know it works and it's scary, and I love all the creepy Cornish people.
yeah.
But the well, we'll talk about it when we get through. But the rape scene in the middle, I think, is really not even needed in the film, frankly.
Well, it's not even in the book. That whole
that.
section. So yeah, if you want me to just like briefly talk on the book, apparently the writer hates the film.
Okay.
But then but Sam Peckinpah hated the book, and I think he quoted is that he took this rotten little book and made something out of it, basically,
right.
to paraphrase him.
So Sam Peckinpah's kind of that director. He makes movies about kind of men. Yeah, he did like the Wild Bunch and stuff. Yeah, like and I think you could look at this as a kind of critique on the modern man, like the 70s man. He like
but it's 71 though, so is that how can you
true.
critique the 70s man when it was like
60s really? Yeah. Well, I think like it feels like a film that's a reaction to kind of feminism, and it feels like a film that is a reaction to kind of like that idea of the modern man, like the man he's not animalistic, he's refined, he's learned, he's you know, all of those kind of elements, he's well dressed and stuff, but he fails to kind of, well, one, he fails to treat his wife with any amount of respect at all.
Oh yeah,
like,
I was just gonna say,
I don't understand. Like, he's absolute, like, the character's horrible to his wife, and he also fails to kind of protect her, which I think is what the film's saying as well.
Well, I wasn't sure if the film was trying to make it out like, I couldn't decide if the film was trying to portray him as a hero or a flawed hero, or if, do you know what I mean? If they thought this is just how men acted, I couldn't decide if that's what they were trying.
I think I'm the same. Like, I couldn't tell if the turn at the end was like him. I wrote in my notes he Breaking Bad, actually. Like, it was like he went full Breaking Bad at the end, but like I couldn't tell if the film was saying finally he's being a man and gonna protect stuff, or the film was saying this guy is a lunatic, like, and we shouldn't applaud this. I didn't really know what it was trying to say. I don't know. Will we ever know? I don't know.
But yeah, going back to the book was written by who wrote it? Gordon M. Williams, and the book's called The Siege of Trench's Farm.
Trench's Farm, yeah.
And so it's still similar in the fact that it's an American with a British wife, and they move to a Cornish village.
Okay.
He's an American professor of English, apparently.
Yeah, he's a professor of, I don't know.
Is it astrological physics or something? I don't know.
I wrote computer science down and realised it was 71. So I don't know what.
Got a computer. He does mention something like that. I'm sure he does.
I don't know. He was just I'm academic. That's what his character was.
In the book, they're having like marital. What the fuck am I saying? Why can't I say the word? Marital. Tell me the word. Marital difficulties, okay. And they've got a daughter, I believe.
Oh, okay, that would have made a difference.
Yeah, his wife's not raped in the book, and the young girl that's kind of
killed,
always wearing, she's killed. So in the book, she's actually like a mentally handicapped girl, who at some point goes missing. But there's also a serial killer of children in the book who I think has escaped prison or something like that.
Right.
And the character
so in the film,
that Dustin Hoffman's character plays, he hits this murderer and takes him back to his house. Word gets out that this murderer is at his name's not Dustin Hoffman, obviously, but his house. And and it just carries on. It then goes how the film went on with the family, the mob coming to kind of thinking that he's taken the girl.
I see.
So it's kind of similar, but it's not. The rape's not in it, and
it's funny because when he finally takes a stand in the film, I was a little bit like, why? Like, why is like I didn't get anything from him to build up for him to decide to stand up for this character.
Well, this is what I don't get. Is so they're all in his house, and they're like, "Give him to us," and he's like, "No, he's not leaving this house." There's like 3 or 4 of them in that house. They could have just taken it.
Yeah, but they don't want him to. They don't want to just take him. They want him to hand him
so.
over. They want like.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he's going, "No, I am Dustin Hoffman, and I will not stand for violence." Should
we go through it a bit then, kind of?
Yeah, but I just I kind of want to talk about a little bit Dustin Hoffman before we go through it, actually, because first time on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Dusty Hoffman. He kind of made a niche for himself in the 60s and then the 70s as well as playing these kind of like neurotic, kind of agitated performances. And
yeah, like Marathon Man and stuff like that.
Yeah, Kramer versus Kramer, Midnight Cowboy, President's Men, like Graduate, like all this kind of like, there's some energy to it, but it's all this neuroticism and agitation and anxiety. And I think they use that really well in this film. I think that's why I think his performance is so amazing in this, because they take that kind of little neurotic energy of him and twist it and twist it and twist it until it pops into violence, which I think that is brilliant, basically. Like, it's like vivid in the way they use it, and it's weird. I think I said earlier on that I don't even consider Dustin Hoffman. I consider him like a comedy actor. Like, for me, I think of him as like Tootsie.
Like Tootsie, yeah.
Yeah.
Hook.
Hook, crud, yeah. Even
I guess
like
Rain Man, I guess, to an extent.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, to an extent.
I Heart Huckabees and
Wag the Dog, yeah. I Heart Huckabees, Meet the Fuckers, Lemony Snickets, I guess. Strange and Fiction.
Well, I guess if you look at his cinematography, his filmography beforehand.
Yeah.
So he had The Graduate, Midnight Cowboy, John and Mary, Little Big Man, then Straw Dogs. So before that, he hadn't done anything. He hadn't done like all the President's Men, Marathon Man.
Yeah,
they're all a bit.
True. Yeah.
But yeah.
Midnight
So yeah, this was probably like a turn for him, maybe, to do something that was a bit
different.
Yeah.
Did he get nominated for this? He didn't get nominated for Best Actor.
Because in Midnight Cowboy, is he a pimp in that?
I can't remember. I was thinking of rewatching actually when I was watching this. I know it's like a buddy thing. It's John Voight, isn't it? And
yeah, so it's John Voight's I think he's like the gigolo, I think. It's been a long time since I've seen this for that film. Too. So
all I remember about Midnight Cowboy is it's what I'm walking.
I'm walking here.
Yeah, that's the actual film it's from. But everyone knows that quote. And it was improvised.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Like literally, they went across the road and the taxi drove up, and he just stayed in character and just did what New Yorkers do, basically.
Yeah.
But there's no one else in this film really. It's just Dustin Hoffman. But I thought he was great in it. Really.
Apparently, who's the actress who plays his wife? It is Susan George. She found him quite difficult to work with, apparently.
Okay.
Because he was quite intense. Like,
sure.
So I don't know about his processes for this film, but I know for like the Marathon Man, just to kind of work himself up to kind of a scene with was it Laurence Olivier in that film?
Yes.
Yeah. So he'd be like, he'd run for miles just to kind of, or just run for a long time to get the sweat up and build himself up.
Wow. And
I think the famous story is that Laurence Olivier just goes, "Have you tried acting?"
Have you tried acting? Yeah, that's what that's from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So boy, have you tried acting?
So I think a lot of these actors in the late 60s and 70s, like, Marlon Brando up to like, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, they all come from that, who's that famous method actor?
I know exactly who you mean, and I won't pull it. But yeah, I that intensity, that method methodology with it.
It's that famous book that I think, what's his name? It's Stanislavski or something like that. It's like
Stanislavski.
Yeah,
the Stanislavski method. I can't say that. Yeah, yeah.
So that's where method comes from. So like, I guess people nowadays, Christian Bale's kind of a bit like that, isn't he?
Yeah, true. I think Daniel Day-Lewis is the famous one.
Yeah, I think a lot of actors kind of grow out of it a bit, but obviously Daniel Day-Lewis kind of, I mean, he's quit acting apparently now, but he kept. Yeah, that's true.
But like, I think there's Tom Hardy's a bit, I think probably a bit like that as well. Adam Driver I know is as well. They just kind of envelop a role, really. You do get the bad side of it. You get the Jared Leto's out there and stuff like that who don't really understand the difference between like method and then just being an asshole on set. Like there is a difference to that. But,
like apparently she said that he was quite humorous and he would like pull pranks and stuff. But she said I think when it came to the acting, he was quite intense. And I think if you're just an actor who does this for a job, which I'm sure you're passionate about it, but then you've got this person who is pretending, not pretending that they're that character, but they're living as if they are that character. It probably would be quite tiring.
It would probably be quite tiring. Making a film is difficult anyway. It's probably much harder when it feels like you're quite isolated on set because people you're working with are quite, intense or standoffish or kind of loner, which is probably what a lot of method things is. So it's probably that kind of thing, I'm guessing. I
mean, I feel bad for Susan George on that film though, because she had quite a rough deal in the film with what happens to her and the way her character's treated. And apparently Sam Peckinpah wasn't exactly that nice to her.
No,
and apparently, actually, Dustin Hoffman didn't want her to play the part. He said, "Don't hire her," and I think it's because he didn't want to have. I think his quote was, "I didn't want a Lolita-ish kind of wife in the film." So like a young, pretty girl. Do you know what I mean? He wanted.
She does feel a lot younger than him in the film. I did think that was just a product of, because he's like what, 20, 30 years older than her. In real life, I think. I think so. She was,
She's 70 now, I think. About 10 years older, I'd say.
She's 70 and he's, 89? 82?
No, he's about 82, I think. So
yeah. There is that. I did feel like a gap on
but I guess at that point, a 20-year-old with a 32-year-old, however old they were at the time of making that film, that is quite a considerable age gap.
It was one of those things that I saw it in film thinking they do feel like they got an age gap, but it's the 70s and what am I going to expect out of most of these films? So, I tried not to kind of worry about it really.
But like as soon as she appears in the film and she's wearing like, a top with no bra and I was like, well, here we are. It's the 70s.
Here we go. That whole stuff, like the way that she is in this film is bizarre because like I couldn't tell if the film was saying that she is like deserving of the violence against her because she plays up to it or she doesn't act like a nice lady or something, and that made me really uncomfortable. And I couldn't I feel like that's what the film was doing, and at least it didn't do anything to make me think differently. And
I felt bad for her character. Like, she wants to spend time with her husband and be in his office because she's got 4 guys outside who are perving on her the whole time.
Yeah,
and she's probably quite lonely, even though I think she states she grew up in that area.
She did, yeah,
and they've come back to it. But and he's just like, I want to be alone in my office and stuff like that, and just like. But then he treats her like a child because, she does some childish things, like she rubs out some of his workings out on the board and stuff. But, that's just playful. I mean, that's what you do in a relationship. You do play with each other. And
I feel like that...
It's like he plays with her, but when it's on his terms.
Yeah, it was so...
When she wants to do it on her terms, it's like...
It was so weird to me. It was like I kept on watching, going, "Are they saying that she's like because she's childish and stupid that she kind of deserves to be kind of like this?" And that scene when she takes a bath and she's just got her top off and all the men are outside staring at her, and it's just played like she's got it coming to her then. And I was like, "Is that what it's doing? Because if it is what it's doing, I really don't like this." But I will say, like, there is quite a good feminist reading of this film. It was written by a critic at Little White Lies.
Okay.
And I can't remember, Elena Lazic, her name is. I follow her on Twitter, and it's worth reading the article because I think she does a really good kind of discussion of the film and a really good new take on how you can read it. She makes it very clear that knowing Sam Peckinpah, it's not what he was going for, but you can read this in a kind of feminist way, and she's empowering herself in this film kind of thing because her husband's so useless basically and won't kind of look out for her and won't kind of do anything. But I can't summarize that article. It's really good, but I would recommend checking it out actually for a different opinion, a different point of view.
But again, like the other girl's sexualized in it as well. Like she's made out to be quite young because she's hanging out with all the young boys and stuff. But she's wearing like, you know, tiny skirts and like, you know, she's obviously flirting with Dustin Hoffman and then the guy with the the mentally handicapped guy.
Yeah.
Which her character in the book, I guess, was a mix. So in the film, she's a mixture of that character.
Yeah. This film ends in a... I want to talk about it before we pass through the plot, actually. This film is a home invasion film. And home invasion is one of those things that in society is sold as like the big terror, especially in America.
Oh, yeah,
And I was interested in what the origin of like home invasion was, because in reality it's not a thing. Like there isn't a law that's like home invasion. There isn't like a crime that's called home invasion. Often when these stats come out about what a home invasion is, it's a mix of like every crime basically that can happen in a house. And but there are like burglary homicide is kind of what the closest to a home invasion is, and there's about 100 of them every year in America, which is absolutely nothing compared to, you know, anything else in America, like, you know, suicide, death by cop or whatever you like. But the culture in America definitely is that you are scared of this, it's going to happen to you, and you need a gun to protect your family because this is going to happen. And I was wondering if this film stoked that at some point. So I did a bit of research, and between 1920 and 1970, so it's 50 years, there were 22 films that are home invasion films.
Okay.
Between 1970 and 2020, which is another 50 years, there were 165 films about home invasions.
Like, Home Alone one of them?
Yeah, probably. I didn't go for every one of them. I just took stats quickly off sites. But it seemed like that kind of culture of how to protect your home and family is like writ large, and in the 70s, I think it rockets and it becomes a thing that you have to be scared of. And I don't know if it's entirely to do with this film, but I wondered if some way this film getting released in that point kind of rockets this thing into cultural memory. And I did look it up. The first time home invasions use the term is the 20s, and it definitely gets kind of ramped up around this time to being something you need to be scared of. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know, I've got no solid facts on this, but it made me think about what, you know.
Because I was wondering, because obviously Sam Peckinpah's American, I didn't know if he brought some of that sensibility over to the UK to make this film. Do you know what I mean? Putting that into it. I know that's in the book as well, but if he was kind of ramping that up. But if you're saying it wasn't as commonplace or in terms of film and...
Yeah, it wasn't really. Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't as regular as we would think of it now anyway. Whereas I think you could name a billion home invasion films now, and they're very popular. They're even like Parasite you could probably call a home invasion film.
Well, yeah, and so. Like You're Next and stuff like that, and The Strangers and stuff like that. Right. What was I going to say? Apparently Sam Peckinpah didn't really want to direct this film because I think the film he did after The Wild Bunch, I forgot what it was called, but he went like $3 million over budget, which back then was a lot of money, and like went over by like a couple of weeks on shooting. So Warner Brothers refused to like work with him again.
Oh, right.
So he found it hard to kind of get work at bigger film studios. So he was kind of
Pat Garrett, maybe. Or was that much earlier? I can't remember. I'm not massive.
The Ballad of Gable Ho.
Oh, okay, right. He's old school director though. Like he you wouldn't call him like a 70s director as such, because he was working for years before this, since like the 50s I think, as director.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. He didn't do much really, did he? After what did he do after?
Pat Garrett is the one I was thinking about. Pat Garrett and the Billy Kid, which is after this.
Well, because he died almost 10 years after this film was made. Right. So he wasn't, died before he was 60, I think.
I know he's got a slightly bad reputation about as a kind of person to work with, and maybe his views on societies and stuff like that.
Well,
which I think
like I said,
in the
Susan George found him hard to work with.
Anyway, we go for the plot, because it opens up with like Dustin Hoffman just outside that pub, and him and his wife have bought a bear trap.
Yeah, and you think, oh, hang on a minute, that's going to come back again later on.
I wonder if this might be a thing. Chekhov's bear trap. Hang on, I'm gonna make a big noise now.
That sounds satisfying. Right, okay, so plotty, bear trap.
Which is, I think, one of the weirdest things anyone's bought from a charity shop.
Is that where it came from?
I don't know. They said it's like second hand or something, and he says something like, "Well, the wife likes these."
You know what we have a lot of in England?
Bear traps.
Bears.
Yeah, like, it's huge. It's like I was like, bear trap. This would capture like a car. Like this is like an elephant trap. Like I was like, what the? Maybe it is an elephant trap. I don't know. Like it was like. God, I thought it was. I didn't even know it was a bear trap for ages as well. I just couldn't even work out what it was. I was like, why are they just putting a huge lump of iron in this tiny car?
I like how it's got one of those pubs that, like, a proper British pub, a bit like in American Werewolf or whatever. That as soon as you walk in, everyone stops.
Everyone's weird on their edge, like
to look at it, and they're all weird and a bit off.
And that's where I can't believe I forgot this. Welcome back to the show. Peter Vaughan is in this film.
Yeah.
I think he's the first guy we've had who's repeated for us as an actor. Like,
could be. I
couldn't think of anything else, but yeah, Peter Vaughan from Remains of the Day and Aemon Targaryen or whatever from Game of Thrones. Like, he plays Tom in this, who's like the kind of patriarch of that kind of family that ends up attacking Dustin Hoffman at the end. And
I couldn't quite figure out what he does. Is he just like the town heavy, like just town drunk or whatever?
Town drunk gangster guy.
Who's got some boys. He's got his boys.
He's got his boys. He doesn't
happen
like the
to be
policeman.
working on Dustin Hoffman's house.
Yes.
But it's weird because it's not his house. He's obviously renting it. So I don't know why
No, I thought they bought
he's
it.
paying them. I don't know. Anyway.
And I don't know. Whatever's going on. But that Peter Vaughan in the pub at the beginning when he's demanding another pint. He ends up like smashing the glass in his hand because he won't give him another pint. I was like, this is definitely what happens in Cornwall if you try and stop drinking in midday. Like,
but in this opening scene, you are introduced to everybody in the film. So
yeah, you are actually. That's true.
The mentally handicapped guy, the young girl who he murders later on,
the cop, as well,
the major or whatever his name is. And then the boys and
the little gang. You know that his wife and I'm never good at character names. I know his wife and the son of Peter Vaughan used to date as well.
Well, they mentioned that he tried to get it on with her, so I don't know if it's trying to imply that he's tried to rape her before, or at least when they were younger, and he tried to kind of.
I saw it as once they were involved.
She seemed uncomfortable around him.
Yeah, but come on, he fucking leans in the car like and puts his entire hand around her neck. That's like.
Well, that's what I mean. So he's obviously threatening. So I imagine he was like that several years ago.
Yeah. You know. He really looks like. I think he really looks like Peter Vaughan as well. I thought it was good. So casting.
Peter Vaughan is called Tom Hedden.
That's it, Tom. That's what I was trying to think of. And then Charlie, I think, is his son. It's not his
Charlie.
son, is it? But it is Charlie, the one who dated her. But
yeah, Charlie. Yeah.
None
of them are his sons. They're just all. So his son is his daughter's the girl who gets killed.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I believe so. Hang on, let me have a look. I might be wrong. I assumed it was his daughter.
I just thought they just kind of were just a bunch of drunk men who were looking for an excuse to kill people.
So Len Jones, Bobby Hedden. So that's his son. I'm not sure which one he is.
Is that the one who?
That's the young boy. I think that's the young boy that kind of hangs out with the girl.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
And then Janet Hedden. So that's his son and his daughter. So there we go.
I didn't really take people's names in this. It was one of those films where I just watched. I knew the characters, and I didn't really like the names weren't that important to me.
When you know who the actor is, sometimes it's hard to disconnect. You just go, "Oh, it's Justin Hoffman driving around in a white car." Do you know what I mean? It's like you forget their names.
You know when he buys a pint, the guy charges him. He just goes, "That'll be £1, I think." And
with the cigarettes as well.
Yeah, and he goes, "How? Well, here's 30 bob." How much is 30 bob?
Let's have a look.
Am I the worst English person in the world?
Well, before me and Caroline got married, my dad gave us a present. And it was an envelope full of money.
Oh God!
And like we opened it, and he goes, "Congratulations on getting married." Basically, we opened it up, and there was about 100 £1 notes, but like from old money.
Oh wow, that's kind of cool.
And he found it when he was in a job, and it was all stuffed behind a fireplace.
Huh.
Okay, so how much is a quid, a bob, and a crown? So let's have a look. So,
okay, apparently a bob is a shilling, which is 12 pence.
Okay.
This hasn't helped me. I don't understand old money.
It's I like metric.
How much is 30 bob then? It's 30 shillings, which is 30 times 12. Is that right? Am I doing that maths right? So it's like 360 pence.
Yeah, so it's like
so it's £3.60.
Yeah.
I don't. This isn't how old money worked, was it? I'm just making this up.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Because it wasn't long after that it converted, wasn't it?
It can't
was
be.
like...
Yeah, it can't be. I didn't know they were still using crowns and bobs and whatever, potatoes or whatever in the 70s.
I think it was the same year that it changed. I'm pretty sure
Is it?
it was like 71. But I don't know.
But anyway, things were cheap.
Yes.
So kind of, that's the thing that makes me laugh. So they kind of leave the pub after everyone's really creepy. Then after Tom throws his weight around, they go back home where there's a very weird driving scene.
Well, no. Before that, though, it's known that the guy who's mentally handicapped, his father is I've forgotten who his name is. Anyway, so the heavies led by Tom are kind of they're pressurizing the major to arrest the son or have him locked away because they think he's a potential threat.
I think there's an element he's a paedophile and he might have been inappropriate with kids before.
Well, what I gathered was he's obviously mentally handicapped, so he probably doesn't know quite what's right and what's wrong. This is what I kind of gathered. I might be totally wrong about it.
I would say in a 70s point of view, they're demonising mental illness. But
yes, I agree.
But he clearly, there's suspicions that the town thinks that he, will bother
do something,
kids.
Yeah,
particularly. Yeah, and they're setting all that up as well. It is true that they set everything up right at the start of the film. I
will say this, I don't think sometimes I'm very good at reading things. So, like, looking back at Wanda from last week, and I was like, her ex-husband was a nice guy. And then looking back on it, thinking about it, it kind of suggests that he chose a woman just to look after his kids. So he seems like a bit of an arsehole. Do you know what I mean? So, like, we'll have to I sometimes have to think about these things.
Sure. Well, we ought
anyway.
to. I think we're gonna mess stuff up all the time, and hopefully, people correct us if we're idiots. But anyway, let's get them to the house. They get to the house, and there's a bunch of more weird people from Cornwall who are working on
the car scene you're on about, where he kind of like he crawls out the window or jumps out of it, and then jumps back.
They start tickling each other in the car, and then attacking each other as they're driving along, and then he kind of jumps out the window and then crawls back into the top. I guess it's they're meant to show that they're in love.
I tell you what, living in the UK, we've all driven on roads like that though.
This whole film is like living here.
Yeah,
there's a bit later on where they overtake a van, and which is just driving here. They kind of get swerved off the road, and they're all kind of piled up, and there's just mud everywhere. I was like, yeah, I've been there. Yep.
So they've got a load of guys working on their roof of their like their garage.
I think so.
They've got a rat catcher who's there all the time. Like, how many fucking rats have they got?
Smell a rat, see a rat, kill a rat. That's me.
And he goes around laughing like the Joker or, I don't know, Salacious Crumb, because the whole way through the film.
Why does he start wearing a fake nose for the rest of the film?
That's because he's at the party later on and he's wearing that red Joker-y kind of nose and he's just giggling around like, it's like there's something not right with him because he's like cycling around on a tricycle at the end of this home invasion.
I wrote that as one of my notes that the most terrifying things happens in the siege at the end is they ride a tricycle into the greenhouse.
But I'm sure someone else gets another tricycle and they're like racing around.
They start racing around the house on tricycles.
What's going on? I mean...
These are the builders. One of the builders has stolen her underwear, which is weird. I think.
Yes.
I think that's not good. I don't think that's
Which
what
one
you build a
steals
set-
it? Is it the one who?
I think it's the one
who
that ends up
rapes
raping her. Yeah.
No,
she gets
hang
raped by
on. Which
two
one?
people.
This the second one. The second guy rapes her.
Yeah. So she gets raped by her ex-boyfriend and gets raped by this builder guy.
Yeah.
And he does one as at gunpoint as well. It's freaking horrible. Like,
Yeah.
but like, it made me laugh that the Cornish guy was talking to Dustin Hoffman and goes, "It's I hear it's pretty rough in the States, sir. Rioting, bombing, sniping, shooting the blacks. Can't walk down the street, they say, sir." And I was thinking, well, that seems apt right now. That seems to be exactly the same story.
So what's next?
Um.
Oh yeah, I think we just see them in there, like how they live in the house, really, don't they? You find out they've got a cat.
Yeah, the cat goes missing multiple times in this film, and eventually is found dead.
Yes,
that's
they
the
do.
story
They do.
of the cat.
Oh, he does get the handymen guys to help put the bear trap upon the wall.
Oh yeah, in a very
Like it's
tense
already
scene,
ready with
actually.
its brackets all ready to place upon the wall above the fireplace.
You know what scene I hated in this film? And the
Yeah.
rape scene's horrible. That's very true. There is a scene when Dustin Hoffman decides to attack the cat for no reason continuously.
Yeah, just throwing
fruit at the cat, and like you actually see him hit the cat on screen, and then later on it's just meowing off screen.
Just sound effects.
Yeah. Like what? Why? Why? Why was he throwing like melons at the cat? I don't understand.
I don't know.
I find it so weird. The characters in this.
So yeah.
Then they have sexy chess.
Yeah, where he's like getting her off underneath while she's making a move.
When she's reading a chess book and trying to decide how to combat him because he's such a genius or something.
Yeah, he's so good at chess.
He's so amazing that he can do sexy and chess at the same time.
I bet I can get my ready for bed quicker than you can make your move.
Make your next move. I do my exercises. He got his little skip rope out, didn't he? He was jumping around in the corner. Nothing like a bit of skip rope before some sexy times. Gets everyone turned on. He's such an asshole, this character is. He's such a weird asshole nerd.
Yeah, but that's what I said. I just don't know whether the film thinks or wants you to like him, think he's a good guy.
I don't know.
Or
Yeah.
what? I don't know.
I guess it's generally a massively misanthropic film, like, and it's generally trying to say that everyone deep down is an animal. Everyone is like broken. Everyone's a dick. Everyone's like an asshole, and they all and everyone will just at some point fall to violence. I guess that's what it's doing. I mean, similar, like we mentioned Clockwork Orange earlier, but with this film and Clockwork Orange coming out the same year, there must have been this kind of undercurrent in 1971 about like just this violence of man, or the inherent need for men to be violent or something. And maybe that was a big discussion around the pubs in 1970 or something. But it seems like a very similar kind of world. What goes on after this then? Oh, they go duck hunting.
Oh yeah, I think we're missing some bits, but there's a lot of them just back in the house while he's trying to work, and then she's obviously just hanging around with him because she wants to be with her husband, or she wants to, like I said earlier, she wants to avoid the lecherous guys outside.
Yeah.
But he just wants, when he's in that office, he clearly just wants to be left alone. So
the cat goes missing, and she asks him to go talk to the builders because they would have. Oh, no, the cat dies. They find it hanging in their cupboard, don't they?
Yeah, but they're looking around for the cat for a while, and she's asking.
But I mean,
if
like,
she's seen the cat.
once they find the dead cat, then she wants him to go confront the builders, and he won't do it. And that's the big.
Yeah, because he claims, it could have been anyone because we left the doors unlocked. Anyone could have come into our house.
And then you have that weird scene when they're putting the bear trap up, as she comes in with some beers and a bowl of milk. And
this bowl of milk is so fucking deep. I'm surprised the cat didn't just die of drowning in milk.
You could feed like a party of cats with this bowl of milk. And like he gets really offended at this. Like it's the worst thing that's ever broken his fragile masculinity in the world that she's done this. He gets so angry and put off by it.
I've got on my notes, did I catch you off guard? And I can't remember what that means.
Well, good.
So if that was a line in the film. Anyway.
I said I've got a note in the film that says this film is about the paranoia that the middle class have when builders are working at their house, they're laughing at you. There's so much in this film where they just cut to the builders laughing, and Dustin Hoffman's like, They're laughing at
They
me.
are-
They're making a joke about me.
To be fair, though, they are like they're proper charlatan like workers though, because how long it takes them to do that roof or whatever, and like why it takes
Months,
4 of them
apparently.
to do that small
Yeah.
roof, and then the rat catcher's just hanging around all the time. And I do
love
like
the
at
fact-
the end though, the rat catcher was obviously
gonna say
catching
that.
rats just to throw in the window.
He's a proper supervillain, like the rat guy.
He is,
Chucks
with his
in a
red
rat at the
nose.
end of the film, like, this is my gimmick, I've got to throw one in. Yeah, duck hunting, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind
so-
of funny that, like, it was a switch that all the British people are really comfortable with guns and the American wasn't, which
Yeah.
that's never going to be true, frankly.
So yeah, they say to him like, you know, we'll lure the ducks or the birds to you.
Yeah.
You stay here. We could be a while though, which is obviously a ploy because one of them, well, we find out two of them. One of them goes to rape his wife essentially.
Yeah, so he goes back to meet he's her ex, and
Yeah.
they have a rape scene which is very long, very uncomfortable, very weird, and
Well, yeah, it's like we said earlier. Like at some point, it's made to look as if she's kind of
getting into it and enjoying it.
getting
Yeah.
into it.
It's bad. I did not.
No, but it was a very. I didn't because all I knew about this film was it was a home invasion film, and I thought
Yeah, same actually.
I thought the reason why it was banned or
was
severely
because of the
edited
home invasion stuff. Yeah.
was the violence at the end,
Same.
not this rape scene.
Not this, yeah. So this was controversial at the time, and this is why it was banned for years in the UK. Is why it had multiple cuts in the UK as well, because this scene is very long, and I think it's hard to argue it isn't glorifying rape, or at least, showing it as erotic in some way.
So I think the edits come in the fact they edit out the second rape. So
Okay.
I believe the first one was left in there in some state, whether or not
That's
that was
still
cut
bad,
as well.
yeah.
But they edited out the second one where the
So
guy
yeah, basically,
turns up.
when the second guy comes in, he holds them at gunpoint and forces the boyfriend to hold her down while he
The
rapes her.
ex-boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah, the ex-boyfriend. Sorry. It's what I found because
So
her
before this
character's-
though, he's slapping her around, the first guy, the ex-boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
He's hitting her and
I just had this weird, like, because she is such a weird character in this, and it felt like the film was saying that she was asking for it or she deserves it mentality, and that's what made it worse for me to watch. It's so much different than the rape scene we watched in like a Perfect Blue, which is traumatic, and it shows you this is traumatic. Like the filming of this didn't feel properly traumatic to me. I mean, it did feel traumatic. I just meant the filming of it felt like it was a bit kind of it was glorifying it. It was a bit erotic. It was a bit of fun for the audience almost.
yeah, they kind of did it in that kind of titillating 70s
that's what I was
kind of
trying to say.
way.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say like a carry-on film because it's not like that.
But it was
kind
shot in
of-
a certain amount of eroticism.
Yeah,
was.
like those kind of like Emmanuel or like
Yeah, sure.
those soft focusy kind of
Yeah.
blousy kind of, I don't know,
But it
soft core
it's
things.
definitely the hardest bit of the film. And you know what makes it harder as well? Like, which this is definitely purposeful, but I had struggled to understand why it's this. It makes no difference to the film.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't need to be in there.
It's
That's
not the reason why Dustin Hoffman protects his house at the end. It's not because
Which
these
I
people
thought-
have raped his wife.
That's
He
what I
doesn't
thought
know.
it was.
No, he never finds out.
I
He,
know.
like she is suffering from trauma for the rest of the film, but she never really says it out loud to anyone. It's just like a massive traumatic incident happens to her. She carries it for the rest of the film, and she ends up killing someone at the end of the film. But like, it's just a punishment on this woman. It's just a horrible, horrible things happen to this woman, and I couldn't believe it just makes no difference. I couldn't believe that the same people that raped her come attack the house at the end, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the rape. I found that was so weird.
The ex-boyfriend does try and ease the situation. He tries to kind of, I assume, so things don't get too violent, because he obviously has some feelings towards her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want. I mean, that's what I kind of gathered they were trying to get at. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead.
Sure, yeah.
There was some decent editing in there, in the fact that like there was some decent like flash cutting between other moments and stuff like that. during that sequence. But
that
yeah,
goes. It's a long scene as well.
Yeah, it's unnecessarily long. But again, like you said, it's just unnecessary.
It feels it, and it feels it. I get like the kind of it's a film about how horrible the souls of people are and stuff. But I couldn't imagine putting that script together and just deciding a rape scene happens in the middle that we're never going to come back to or deal with.
I mean, I can't imagine being an American and then watching this film and thinking, "Yep, I want to go to Cornwall in the UK."
Well, that's the thing. The where they shot it, a lot of the extras are just people who lived in the village in Cornwall. I can't remember the village name. They hated this film when it came out because they didn't know it was this. You know, they're just like, "Oh, a nice American film shooting here, like brilliant!" Like, and then they end up in this film that's about like rape and like home invasion and tons of violence. They weren't fans.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So after this scene is the highlight of the Cornish calendar, the church party.
Well, yeah, we've missed a bit where he meets up with the Reverend and his wife.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure. And he's an asshole to them as well.
Yeah, and he's another character with pretty bad British teeth that kind of goes along with the stereotype. But yeah, he literally takes money out of David's hands, pretty much, doesn't he? He's like, "That'll do." But I thought this scene was really quite well done, actually, though. To be honest,
the party scene.
Because it had this like kazoo, like the kids.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like in a church hall, and the kids are eating dinner, and they're like eating jelly and stuff like that. But
Tom Vaughan has got like Tom, or has got a massive pint of just a punch. It's clearly spiked.
But the kids have got these kazoos, and it's almost like it's Amy's, Susan George's character, her mindset of just her screaming, because it's just these kazoos that are just constantly screaming, and then it keeps like every so often it keeps flashing back to the
trauma and the rape.
Yeah, and like because this is a 70s film, the sound's kind of a little bit tinny, a bit kind of how films used to be. So I was listening to it with my headphones, and it was just piercing. It was just like this kazoo noise down my ears, like, oh my god.
I liked how the party was there, and you got the vicar doing dumb tricks and stuff, and people singing and stuff, but you never saw the tricks. You just heard him doing them. Like, you knew exactly what dumb magic tricks he was doing, but the camera never focuses on it. You just hear it constantly in the background, and people laughing, and then groups of people are laughing, and they're still intimidating, and it's not a friendly party for them to be at.
Well, because we forgot to mention that he's fired the workers at this point.
Oh sure, yeah.
So he hasn't fired them because two of them have raped his wife. He's fired them. What's he fired them for? Just because
being slow.
Just being slow, yeah.
And laughing at him. I don't know. I think
because you think, oh, that's another instigating reason why they would come back anyway. Maybe he underpaid them. Like, again, they didn't need that rape scene. It didn't add anything. I mean, yes, it made the villainous characters even more villainous and horrible.
But that's a proper fridging thing, that is.
But I'm sure they could do something else to make them look just as bad.
It's like a proper just violence against women just to
exactly. They didn't need. They could have done something else.
No, it's not going to lead to anything. It's just pointless trauma.
Yeah. Especially because it had no not resolution, but it had no like.
It doesn't reverberate for the rest of the film, really.
Yeah,
it does.
I mean,
hurt,
a bit late,
but
a bit later on when the second rapist gets into the bedroom.
Yeah.
He kind of insinuates to the other guy, "Shall we gang rape her again?" I don't know if Dustin Hoffman heard that. Then he kind of clicked on that. Oh, has this happened before?
I don't know. Dustin Hoffman doesn't really. I don't think he ever clocks onto anything in this.
No. I mean, she kind of mentions it when they're talking in the bedroom afterwards. She says some comments under her breath, but he's more bothered about being stood up or whatever at the shooting area.
Yeah, he's more bothered about his fragile ego. His ego, and doesn't care about her at all. He doesn't. Like, he's an awful boyfriend in this film.
So yeah, in this scene anyway, at this party at the church hall, so Janice, who's the daughter of Peter Vaughan's character, she kind of comes up to David, doesn't she? And, I don't know what she thinks she's going to achieve by going up to a married man. in front of his wife. But obviously she feels a bit rejected, so she goes to the guy with the mentally handicapped guy. I've forgotten his name.
I can't remember. Yeah, I found it so weird that she went off.
Was
with
he
him.
John Niles? No.
Yes, it was Niles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she leads him into a room like nearby or in the cellar or something.
It's like a barn or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Cornwall. There's bars. There's bars.
So the dad realizes she's gone missing. They all start calling for her, looking for her, because I think one of the kind of his henchmen, I think the rat boy kind of says, "Oh, he left with
Niles,
John Niles, and he was leching all over her." Where he wasn't really. She was the one who came onto him, I guess.
Yeah, which is again, I found that really anti-women.
Yes, agreed. Second again,
yeah. I found it really odd.
I prefer how the book works. I mean, yes, he's a paedophile murderer in the book. I don't think that's seen in the book. But like, no one's getting raped or trying to. I don't know.
They start looking for him, and he basically accidentally kills her.
Do you know what that reminded me of, though?
Go on.
Of Mice and Men, George.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Like he's like a mentally handicapped guy who kind of accidentally murders a woman when I think they're looking for her and stuff. It was very similar.
But like, no one knows that he accidentally killed her.
Yeah.
And
because then that's forgotten about. Then that
no one actually knows that she's dead.
Yeah.
In this
and again,
film.
like what you're saying about the treatment of women in this film is just
bizarre. Yeah. Well, yeah. Probably no surprise to people listening, but yeah. So he accidentally kills her by strangulation.
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Apparently, June Brown, who's Dot in EastEnders, was in this film, but her scenes were deleted.
What? What?
I want to see those scenes.
I'm so annoyed. Oh.
Anyway,
Dot
sorry.
Cotton.
Sorry.
British Luminaire, Dot Cotton. Do you think she was still as old when she shot this?
She's still alive. She's still in EastEnders.
Is she?
Yeah.
My God. I didn't even know EastEnders still existed, frankly.
So sorry. Anyway, John Niles accidentally murders Janice.
And
he
then
kind of grabs her to to silence her, even though she's the one who's coming onto him. He grabs her to not say anything. I think. But then accidentally strangles her.
He's like, no, they'll find us, and then tries to silence her and basically chokes her.
Well,
out.
I'm guessing he knows he'll be in trouble if he's caught.
Yeah, that's why.
Even if.
But it's definitely worse to kill someone. It definitely is.
Yes.
So, but he runs out, and
I don't think he was intending to do that. Obviously,
it's accidental, but it's.
Yes.
And then, I've said this about 30 times now. He runs out of the barn.
Sorry.
It's all right. And then Dustin Hoffman.
Did you know June Brown was in this film?
And then back to the party, and then the vicar's doing magic tricks, and there's kazoo sounds everywhere, and Dustin Hoffman decides that his wife's had enough of being in this place, and they leave. And at that point, they're driving home, and they hit Niles with the car.
When you said Niles, then
From Fraser discussion earlier.
Yes. Anyway, so they hit him with the car, and it's so foggy. Like, how he can say, we're almost home, when you can't see. You see what he can see from his windscreen. You can't see shit.
Like driving in Herefordshire. That's very familiar. Very familiar. Actually, that party in the church halls, like, that's pretty much Herefordshire nightlife still.
Oh man, there's a place around here called Quinny Hall, and it's where all the farmers used to go, because there's a lot of land by me, and because my dad's friends with all the farmers, we used to go there, and they'd have like cabaret acts and stuff like that on Christmas, and they'd have a kids' table which I was always sat on. It was exactly this. It just, even though this was like a good 15, 20 years before I'd go to it. It just rang true, like, to exactly what it was like.
It looks so depressing to me.
And
I was like, no wonder like disco and nightclubs just rocked the fucking world when this was like the normal thing.
It's like you've got adult things or very young kid things, and
Yeah.
there's nothing in between, and those two always just meet, and it's like,
Like I don't know, the Queen's wife, the vicar's wife stands up and does some opera or something. Sings
Yeah.
like it's.
She had a lovely voice though.
She had a lovely voice. It was. So then Niles runs out the barn.
Did you know June Brown was in this film?
Anyway, they hit Niles with the car, and Dustin Hoffman feels very bad about this. So Dustin Hoffman puts Niles into the car and drives him back to his house. He doesn't know that they're looking for him, and he doesn't know that he's done anything wrong either. At this point, the whole town are out to try and find the missing girl. The band of kind of no-goodmen that we've been following decide that it's definitely Niles who did it. And when Dustin Hoffman phones the police to say that Niles is really ill because he hit him with a car, they find out that Niles is at Dustin Hoffman's house.
Yes.
And there we set up the end of the film, which is the entire end of the film, that the band of creepy Cornish people come to take John Niles back from Dustin Hoffman, and Dustin Hoffman decides that it's not happening. He can't just hand over this guy to this mob to lynch him, and this territorial kind of instinct finally kicks in, and he says, "I will not allow violence against this house," which is a very silly thing to say when a rape has already happened in the house.
Yes. And a cat's been murdered.
And a cat's been murdered. But he finally stands up, and from this point on, it goes full on Home Alone, and I kind of loved it.
It was a wicked scene. Like, it's a good, 20 minutes, I think?
Easily,
it is really good. Like, they're all smashing the windows in, they're throwing, like, massive, not bricks, but massive rocks
through the windows. They're smashing the doors. And
then the rat catcher's throwing rats through them. Then they're setting fire to the...
curtains.
Curtains.
He's fighting back by kind of tying them to window frames in wire.
That was wicked when he gets the wire and ties the one to the window frame. And
he's got like the glass just against his throat.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but it's going to cut me. And Dustin Hoffman's like, yeah, fuck him, whatever.
He's got the water on the boil, and he throws...
It's oil, isn't it? Like, boiling oil.
Is it oil? Well, they first start shooting at him, and he throws the table up against the window.
Yeah.
Then it falls down, and he just lobs like oil or water. I think it's water, but it could whatever it is. It's fucking hot and will burn.
It's hot, and it burns the crap out of them.
Yeah.
It kicks off with the cop comes, doesn't he? We should have said the cop comes to stop them and tell them, nope, go home, and they just blow the cop away.
Yeah, and I think they're just like, fuck it, let's just go for it.
Yeah, we killed him now. Fuck it, we're killing everyone, and that shot of the cop and it just flies backwards and like it's just so like what's the term, exploitation. Like it just turns into full on exploitation, and I love this. I love this part of the film.
I love shotgun fires like that in old films though, because he just fucking flies.
He just flies
up in the air and just flies up. But then when Peter Vaughan comes in and he's got the shotgun, I think Dustin Hoffman somehow manages to get the gun to point down.
Yeah,
and he blows off his own foot.
Blows off his foot. Yeah.
So is he dead? Like.
It could be.
I assume foot blown off
could kill you.
I guess it could. But so he blows
that's
off
that
his
classic
own foot.
shot then. If everyone have seen, even if you haven't seen the film, of Dustin Hoffman with the gun pointed out.
Which he never actually fires because it's.
Doesn't it jam on him?
No, he's got no bullets in it.
Is it no bullets? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he beats up the laughing boy with a poker stick. I think he kills him with the poker stick. You don't see him, but he alleges he kills him. Meanwhile, they keep moving Niles from different rooms because I think at one point he tries to attack Amy.
Yes, I got that written down here. So there's not enough violence has happened against Amy.
Yeah.
That the now murdering, I don't know, I guess they call him a paedophile really in this film, decides to himself attack Amy, who they're protecting. They're protecting this guy from this mob, and he decides to attack her. I'm like, seriously, can anything more happen to this poor girl in this film?
So they lock him in the attic, I think.
And he puts on the bagpipe music now.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, he's playing music in there. And
Did you know it? I quite liked actually throughout the film. There's like this weird like horn, this droning horn that you keep hearing. It's going. And then later on in the film, it's just the sound of the vinyl going.
Yeah, the scratch.
Yeah,
I love the I just thought Hoffman was terrifying in this. Like when he turns, he was just. I've said it again. I don't think of Hoffman as this, and I just thought he was brilliant. Like in that turn, and just saw a different side of him that I kind of know about Hoffman. I think really.
He's got that like 70s kind of makeup, like where they've kind of put bruising on him, but it's really quite blue.
Yeah,
and it looks a bit like the makeup in Dawn of the Dead or something.
Sure.
And it's a bit obvious, but I quite like it. It's quite cool.
I like his glasses in this.
Yeah, they're smashed and he's like blood. He's like all dirty and stuff.
And he's just so they break into the house. I get a bit confused what happens now. So I think
the other guy then comes in. So Peter Vaughan's blown off his own. He's just killed the laughing guy.
Yeah.
Then the ex-boyfriend comes in with the shotgun. Who he goes, oh, it's. He says it's low. He said no. He aims at Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman says, it's not loaded, and he goes, "Do you want me to prove it or something like that?" He marches them upstairs to get John Niles, but then I think that other guy's already upstairs now.
The guy breaks in. The guy the second rapist breaks in upstairs and attacks her specifically, I think. And then the ex-boyfriend kills him.
Yeah, points the shotgun to him, kills him, and then
is that right?
Then there's a fight break. Then Dustin Hoffman fights him. He falls down the stairs and then lands on the bear trap.
He gets a bear trap to the face.
She's horrified by this.
Yeah, well,
and then Dustin Hoffman's like, "Oh, I did it! I killed everybody.
Hey, look at me! I'm the best man that's ever existed."
Then the guy he tied to the window frame comes out.
Oh yeah. And he's got all this. Has he got the boils on his face? Or is that the boyfriend? The ex-boyfriend?
No, it's Peter Boyle and the other guy who I think the other rapist. I think.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, he could have had some on his face. I don't know. But then he tries to then break Dustin Hoffman's spine on the staircase.
He's like kind of pushing his foot against the back of his spine, isn't he?
Yeah, it's quite nasty.
And then
it takes her a while to grab the shotgun.
Yeah,
she blows him away.
And she blows him away. Thank God, she won.
And then at the end, he drives.
Oh, the end made me
John Niles away, but he goes, "Are you all right?" to his wife, and it's like thinking, you just leave her on her own.
Do they don't hug or anything or have like a moment of relief or anything? They just he just kind of walks off with John Niles.
Is he even in love with her? Does he really care about her? Is she just a trophy wife? Do you know what I mean? Like
he definitely doesn't care about her. It doesn't matter to her. Like he's like, look, I won. I killed everyone. I made John Niles safe. I'm gonna take him back to town now. Bye. And they just hop in the car and drive back to town.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. I don't think it's as great as everybody said. It's got some great moments in it, but like you said, it's just got some moments in it that even back in the 70s, if I was alive in the 70s, I'd still be like, why is this in here? I hope I'd be like that anyway. Like,
well, enough people were. Roger Ebert didn't like film at all.
He gave it 2 out of 4, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of critics at the time that didn't like it. I would say that it works for me. Like it frazzles me and horrifies me in that kind of way that it's meant to.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure how to take it, but I did think it was a good. I thought it was a good film. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah,
it's just,
me too.
But it's just got some questionable. Well, I don't questionable is the word, but it's.
I don't even want to say it's a product of its time. I think because
I think that's such a cop out to say that.
Because clearly at the time people were like, "This isn't good," and like it was cut here and stuff like that. So it wasn't like people were just like, "Yep, great rape scene, more of them, please." But it was. I like that I watched it. I like that I've seen it, and it's an iconic bit of cinema that has influenced a lot after it. So
I'm interested to see the sequel. Apparently, it's meant to be really bad, and it's
remake,
set in Mississippi. Yes. What did I say? Sorry.
Sequel. Huh?
Sequel.
Straw Dogs 2. Strawria. Now there's more hay.
Yeah, it's set in Missouri or Mississippi. No, Mississippi. I think it's set.
There's a cop out to make it a Southern States thing. I liked the fact it was England. I thought that was kind of fun.
I mean, it's kind of got that kind of. I mean, British films in the 70s and the 60s have got this very definite tone, like, you know, like The Wicker Man or Jones and stuff like that. They've kind of got this very kind of
like
just
If,
British,
which I think we got lined up for the 60s. That kind of weirdness in British society.
I meant to say If. I think Don't is the fake Edgar Wright trailer that's kind of like If. But,
I thought you meant If, but okay.
yeah, there's the school one.
Yeah, the school one.
School. Yeah. Yeah, that's got what's his name from Clockwork Orange in it, hasn't it?
It does have what's his name?
Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm McDowell, yeah. But I think in a large way, this kicks off this kind of exploitation cinema that you do see in the 70s. You know, there's a direct line from this to like Taxi Driver. There's a direct line through like Deliverance and stuff. So you got that.
What's the other one as well? Don't Look Now, kind of that kind of vibe and stuff like that. And apparently he was up for the role. Apparently Donald Sutherland.
I can believe that, actually. I can definitely see that. But like, I think the exploitation stuff at the end of this film, I just thought was wonderful. Like, it's great exploitation cinema, and
it's a good build up to it.
Yeah, it is. It's just there's stuff in it that makes it difficult to watch, but. Like, I don't know.
But I guess that's what exploitation cinema is. It does have gratuitous stuff in it for the sake of it. So, I don't know.
I feel like maybe me and this film are it's never going to be on my list of like greats, but it kind of is really good. Is that a review? Like,
yeah, it's. What would you give it then out of 5 on?
I don't know. I've been struggling. Like, I knew you were going to ask me that because it's kind of like, I don't know.
It's really good in spite of all of its...
Yeah, it is. It is, actually.
I'd like to give it a 4, but I feel bad giving it a 4.
I think that it's the same review as I have, actually. Because
I thought it's well acted, you know, it looks great, and it's got some great moments.
I feel like I'm a bad person for liking it.
Yeah.
Despite the film, and maybe that's the point of it. Maybe that's what it was trying to do. I don't know.
But that's like what Lars von Trier kind of says with his films, like you're bad for if you like this film, you're bad for liking. You know, like what's the film? I think again it's another home invasion film. You know, the one that got he remade it.
Oh, do you mean Funny Games?
Yeah, Funny Games.
Yeah, not Lars von Trier.
Not
Michael Haneke.
Haneke, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
you know, he's trying to say that you're.
I love Funny Games. It is inspired by the same thing. Yeah,
but that's what he's trying to say in that film. You're terrible for liking this.
Yeah, You're causing this violence to happen. Is the point of that because you're.
He's basically the woman at the end of that. Don't fuck with cats.
Yes, I know. He does it better though. But the whole point of that, because he stops, like the guy has the remote control, doesn't he? He's like, this could stop now if you turn off the film. This violence wouldn't happen against his character if you turned it off. So it's very blatantly saying that. Anyway, we'll wrap up there. Next week we're covering 1972, which will be Fist of Fury, I think.
Oh yeah, we've got our guest as well.
Yeah. Brandon, who's had a couple of mentions, is going to come on the show.
He's a martial art expert.
That's going to we put him down as that filmmaker. So I'm glad he's coming on the show because I don't really know anything about martial arts. I don't really know anything about martial arts films.
We have got something to talk about regarding me and you and martial arts, though. I think next week that we can probably talk about briefly.
That's a tease. But I don't know a lot about Bruce Lee, and I have not seen a lot of Bruce Lee films, so I'm kind of excited to watch one. And
yes, same. I mean, I think to be honest, the only thing I've seen is Enter the Dragon. Really,
I think Enter the Dragon might be the only one I've seen as well.
Yeah. I think that's his pinnacle film. To be honest,
right.
That's like his. You know,
well, hopefully we'll learn more next week. It seems silly to do 70s and not have Bruce Lee in it. Really,
yeah. Sure. I mean, I know more Jackie Chan than Bruce Lee. To be honest.
Me too. I'm exactly the same. As a martial arts film, I've seen tons of Jackie Chan films, and I could talk about Jackie Chan as a film star, but talking before that, I don't have any kind of knowledge. So.
Well, I think Jackie Chan's just a lot more. He's easier to get into because his films were comedies most of the time, as well as being martial art films. So a lot more. There's more of an in.
There's more of a. Well, I can't say more because I haven't seen a lot of Bruce Lee films, but what I love about the kind of Jackie Chan films is the fact that it's all choreography, it's all dancing, and I love seeing that on film. And Jackie Chan knows how to shoot himself doing that. Kind of a Fred Astaire thing, really. And so it'd be really cool to see Bruce Lee, who's, at a cultural absolute icon, like in every regard, really.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay. So I guess that'll about do it for today. Thanks a lot for everybody who's listened and checking us out. If you want to watch along with us on our Twitter feed, we've got like an image up there which tells you all about the films we're going to watch for this 70s series. So if you want to watch along, please do so.
That's pinned on our Twitter account, so people.
Yeah, we'd love you to join the conversation with us. Tell us what you thought of Straw Dogs or Wonder from last week and Fist of Fury next week and so on and so forth. But yeah, you can find us at Adjust Your Track. That's YR, not your. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can check out us on Instagram as well at Better Feeling Films. So yeah, if the pitch is bad, don't forget to adjust your tracking.